and welcome to Lay It Out, the No Bullshit Science podcast.
With extra bullshit.
I'm Kiri.
And I'm Alice.
And she's Jamelza.
Yay.
We're still shit at this bit.
No, we actually, in the last few weeks, have gotten a little bit better.
Okay, but that was bad.
That was bad. There was a good 10-second pause, I'd say.
Yeah. That's alright. So, guys, we have our very first sort of actual real grown-up scientist guest with us today. So we're going to try and be on our best behaviour.
Are we?
Let's see what happens.
Okay.
But yeah, do you have anything, what's been going on, Alice? How are you?
Well, you got more news than I do because you were at a holiday.
It wasn't a holiday.
It was a half conference, half holiday.
Yeah, so I was just at a conference in Bordeaux. It's called Eurogenesis, play on words on neurogenesis. Very exciting.
Is that what you've been saying?
Yeah.
I thought that you were saying neurogenesis.
No, Eurogenesis.
I was like, that's not a very original name for a conference. They just called it neurogenesis.
No, it's actually great.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, it was good. It was in Bordeaux, so we had lots of nice French food, lots of nice wine. Didn't really get fed though, just lots of foie gras and smoked salmon.
Kiri had a rolling update on her Instagram of how many pastries she was eating throughout the trip.
Yeah, I ate 10.
That was I was actually a bit, you were there for how many days? I feel like you could have done better than that.
Yeah, but I took a break once after the conference when I started eating real food.
Okay,
So
fair,
I wasn't filling up on pastries anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was really sad because my last pastry was an airport pastry.
Oh.
So the quality of the pastry was very low.
Not good. You're supposed to end on a high.
I know, but I couldn't end on 9 pastries.
No, you couldn't. You had to round out that number.
Yeah. But that was great.
Interesting.
So,
And then you did, you never actually told me, did you do the wine tasting?
yeah, went to Saint-Emilion.
How did that go?
Did some wine tasting in 2 chateaux. It was very good. I know how to taste wine now, and I know what to do. And top tip for all the listeners, if you want to buy French wine, specifically from Bordeaux, go for 2015.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Was that a good year?
They had a very good year.
Good year for the grapes?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. But other than that, yeah, that's it. That's my only update.
Was that just red wine or white wine also?
Red wine.
Okay, well, I don't drink red wine, so you need to go back and ask them when I should buy my white.
They only let us taste red wines.
What?
And also, they said that if you buy a red wine and it's from 2018, it's a fraud. Because 2018 red wine shouldn't be in bottles yet.
Oh.
There we go.
Loads of facts.
Yeah.
But why didn't they give you any white wine?
Because, I don't know. It's just what they gave us.
Okay, fine.
And yeah, so it was 3 days of hardcore science, followed by a few nights of very drunk professors dancing, which is quite an experience. And yeah, especially when you're dancing to things like Kevin Little, Turn Me On with them.
Oh.
It's quite the experience.
I can't really picture that in my head. I feel like it's something I need to experience also.
But yeah, it was good. What about you? Any updates? You've had a haircut?
I have, yes. My head feels significantly lighter. So my hair used to be probably, I'd say more than half as long as it is now.
I think so.
Yeah.
More than twice.
Yeah, more than twice, yeah.
Yeah.
So when this hairdresser was sweeping up all my hair, she was like, say goodbye to your hair. I was like, bye hair.
Aww.
And then they had this cool machine that like eats up all the hair on the ground, and it was full.
Was it a Hoover?
It was full. No. No, it was like a stationary machine that they swept the hair into.
Okay.
But because I have so much hair on my head,
Yeah.
it made it full.
Yeah. So Silent Jamalza had a haircut last week.
Uh-huh.
Yours is this week.
Yeah.
Am I going to come in bald next week?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe. Let's see.
Go get it shaved.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Enough about us.
Okay.
Let's talk about some real science.
Yes.
Okay. So this week we have a guest who you may or may not know. Probably do know if you watch British television. He is a geneticist at the University of Cambridge, and I can't read my own writing. Hang on a minute. He's the
Smooth.
He's the scientific director at the Genetics and Transcriptomics Corp and president of the British Society of Neuroendocrinology.
And
Am I here yet?
Wait.
Yes,
No,
you are.
Oh, so I'm not here yet.
Is he here yet?
No, ignore me. I'm not here yet. Go.
he is.
It's Giles Yeo!
Sorry, I ruined it. I didn't know. I was trying to wait for cues. I was trying to wait for cues of when I was
Our
supposed to jump
technology
in.
isn't that advanced yet.
No,
We
is it
don't
not?
have-
Is it not? I was
No,
waiting for the red light.
Yeah. What did I say to Melza before we got here? I told Melza, I was like, she should have brought a red light with her so we could do a whole on-air thing.
Yeah.
See, even Giles agrees you should have a red light.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
disappointing the lack of a red light.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. Don't
We'll
worry.
bring-
Next time.
We'll
We'll
have a red
that.
light next time.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. So thank you for coming on.
It's all right. Hello.
Delighted to have you.
Delighted to be here.
So I guess we're gonna what we normally do with all our guests. So how did we meet, Giles?
Yes, how do we know?
So I met Giles on my my short little trip to be a celeb.
Which hasn't happened yet, has it?
No, it's not aired yet. I think it's airing this month.
You know, I have no idea when it's gonna air because
Yeah.
I've just seen that's right. We Curie over here kindly chaperoned me through an intermittent fasting diet, and so we then came to the lab and interviewed her. I've seen a cut of it actually. It is quite funny. I think I think the people that supply the food might not think it is as funny, but that's fine. That's okay. And but I don't know actually because I said is it gonna come out in the summer? So I'm one of the doctors, although I'm not that kind of doctor, on BBC's Trust Me I'm a Doctor, and so this is one of these pieces for that. And I said ooh. This is just me speaking to the exec, and I asked, is it coming out in the summertime? She goes, I hope not. Oh, I know exactly. That's what it said. Apparently, health programs don't fly well in the summer. So you gotta do things. You gotta build up to bikini. I'm not countenancing any bikini bod, but there are moments in time. There's obviously the famous New Year scenario. Then the next thing is bikini bod, and that tends to be running April, May, going into there, and then there's after the summer. But in the summer,
Dry.
No one wants to be told to go on
debauched, delinquency. No one wants this. So she hopes it comes out in the autumn.
So we've been booted off for Love Island.
Yes, you have.
Yeah.
That's very interesting to know that like TV works in those cycles as well.
They do. They absolutely. Anyway, so that's the answer. I'll let you know for sure. Everyone will be known, but probably not the summertime. Is what I told. I might be wrong, but there we go.
All right. Well, we'll tweet it when it does air.
And arguably, if what you say, and I believe you, is true, then it's better than it's not.
Yeah, no, exactly. We do want people to watch it. That's the point.
You want mass viewership.
Exactly.
There's no sense in being shy when you're doing this thing.
No.
You want people to watch it.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
As many as possible.
Exactly, and it features your research, so it's gotta come out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
So there we
exciting.
go. Yeah.
So, what did you think of the trial when you were on it? So we got you to do the 5-2 diet.
You did.
Using food packs, which are sort of calorie controlled, nutrient controlled
Meals.
meals.
But yeah, don't really look like meals.
Dehydrated meals.
I think we
Space
should
food.
Space food.
Space food. I actually have some space food in my trial as well, but we'll go into that a different time. I have two questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Number one is what did you think of, I guess, the food trial? The food.
Mm-hmm.
What do I think of the food itself, rather than
Or is that
the
question?
diet?
And then the other one is like the trial. Yeah. Oh no, what did you think of the 5-2 and what did you think of the trial?
What did I think of the 5-2 and what did I think of the trial? I hated the 5-2.
Yeah.
And I hated it because, not because I don't think it doesn't work for a lot of people, because I do think that gazillions of people, you can't go to a freaking dinner party without someone saying, it's my fasting day today. I said, okay, well, yeah, thank you. And so I do know that people actually get with it. Here's my problem. I am someone who loves food, and I love with the capital L, O-V-E, all capitals, and with all of the baggage that the term comes with. I think about food. I know when I'm on my bike coming in the morning what I'm gonna cook for dinner in 2 days' time. Okay, that kind of thing. So my problem with the 5-2 was this. On the fasting days, I was miserable because you were hungry, but that's fine. You expect it to be what have you. But then I then spend the other 5 days worrying about how miserable I was going to be on the day I was miserable. Whereas there are other people who says, well, I'm only miserable. I mean, the whole process, right? Yeah. I'm only miserable on 2 days, and the other 5 days I can do what I want, and I think I love my food too much. So I think it didn't suit me, but that doesn't mean it doesn't suit a lot of other people.
But do you think you would have felt that way if you were doing it with your own homemade food?
That's a very good question. I don't know, because I think the food might have been more satisfying. You asked about the food. Look, I completely understand. I was entering a study, and so clearly, I'm a scientist as well, so understanding that you need to standardize everything, you need to make sure people did exactly the same thing. So I fully was on board with that. I was going to do that. But geez, I mean, it's really rough. Some of the stuff. I mean, I think that some of the bars were actually okay.
Yeah.
I had one or two of the shakes. I do not recommend banana. It burps the entire day, and then it has that banana left in the car taste. For the whole thing. Yeah. But then it's like that powdered spaghetti bolognese. Do you think that stands? You like it? Is that what you were about to say?
I think it was.
I've tasted the spaghetti bolognese.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's that bad.
No. Okay. Let me just clarify without getting anyone being sued. It wasn't the. Yeah, maybe maybe it's my problem was cognitive dissonance. You know, where suddenly it appeared in a bowl and you poured hot water on it, and then you kind of did the whole thing, and it was fine. I mean, it wasn't. I didn't take the food and feel like hurling. It wasn't bad. Okay, it was just not food. And I think that being the difference, rather than tasting it and felt like I was whipping myself eating it. That's not that kind of thing. So it didn't taste bad, but it didn't taste great, and I didn't think I considered it food. I think it would have been a lot more pleasant with my own food. You know, I do cook. Would it have been easier? You know, I'm not sure, because I think I would have been hungry as well, because the calories would have been the same. Maybe I would have eaten something different, but I still would have worried 5 days of being miserable.
Yeah. I just find the 5-2 is way too much planning. I can't. I find it really difficult to plan those 5-2 days, the 2 fasting days. Whereas you do really well.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed it, and I did it with my own food.
Are you still on it?
No. Good question.
Yeah, I'm just putting it out there. That's all.
So actually, do you know what happened?
What's up?
I was on it, and then I started running my own trial. That isn't the 5-2 or anything. It's completely separate. But I couldn't do it once I started running the trial, because I got early mornings and I had to focus. And I found on the fasting days, my brain, I don't know, maybe there would have been a bit of an adaptation later on, and I would have been able to focus more. But I felt like they had to be days where maybe I was doing some sort of really like repetitive, like menial task, and then I'd be okay. But if I really had to apply myself, as you do during a PhD, I couldn't fast on those days.
And I think that's exactly right. I mean, I nearly got myself killed because I cycle, and this is the other thing. So I cycle to, I cycle quite a long distance. I cycle 50 kilometers a day.
Okay,
in commuting, and when you're on 600 calories. And you know, Curie over here is like intermittent fasting Nazi, right? So can I like increase it by 200 shekels? She says no. I never asked her. And I ended up crashing. It's one of these things where I was coming home one day. It was like I moved all of my food, all of the 600 calories to the evening, so that it felt like I was having a meal.
Yeah.
So this was my rationale, but the problem obviously is then you've cycled to work, you've worked the whole day at work, you hadn't eaten from 9 o'clock the night before, so by the time you were on kilometer 45 coming back, and suddenly a parked car appeared in front of me. Clearly it was there, and so it was coming up towards me at a great rate of knots, and so I threw myself underneath it, feeling that it was the least painful option. Anyway, so which triggered a call from the BBC, by the way. Just they did, ooga, and then I'd have called. It's fine. I'm still here.
Yeah.
You live to tell the tale.
I live to tell the tale.
But I think that is one of the tricky things about 5-2 as well, because you exercise a lot.
I wouldn't exercise on those days, so it was affecting my routine in that way as well.
Yeah, I like to train and exercise 4 to 5 times a week, so it's really hard to actually fit it in. Then on those 2 days when even if I'm not exercising, I'll have shit to do, and it's
like using your brain and shit.
Yeah,
right? Exactly.
Yeah. It's hard. It is hard.
Yeah.
But, different strokes for different folks. A lot of my participants love it. They really enjoy the food packs.
That's true. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I think there's a time and a place.
Yeah.
And a person. Let's add to that.
And a lifestyle probably as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
Very good.
So we wanted to talk to you about your journey into science.
Oh my lord.
Starting from when you were a child, maybe.
Wow, that's far back. Okay, yeah. Hit me.
We'll fast forward.
We'll fast forward. Less interesting for most people, but let's go with that. Okay.
No,
this is what we're really interested in.
Yeah, what triggered your
interest in science?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I got a feeling. I think a large part of it would have been environmental. So my dad's a medic, and so we pinged around the world just following him around, and he was a dermatologist actually. So that's what it was. He worked on diabetes. So I think that probably was part of the deal, where it was just around us all the time, and I was good at science. Now, is that genes? Is that environment? Probably interaction between the two. That's probably how I got into it. And I think saying anything else would be lying.
I always feel like dermatologists must have really strong stomachs.
Why?
Because they get like all the really gross stuff.
Of all the gross things in the world, dermatology is the one you say
like,
is the most gross?
You know, like when you have people with like really like gross skin conditions, and
how about, well, what is the gross? Yes, there are some gross skin conditions that are out there. There are going to be situations that zits, I guess, are not particularly
zits are
nice,
okay.
you know,
Yeah,
and what have you.
that-
But I got very good friends that work on diabetic feet.
Yeah, like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah.
Do dermatologists? You said your dad works in diabetes.
Diabetes, not dermatology, diabetes.
Okay, diabetes.
Yeah.
So it's different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Where did I get dermatology from?
I don't know.
I don't know why you mentioned dermatology.
I was actually about to launch in. I didn't know where it come from either, and I was about to launch in and start talking about my journey with the dermatologist. And I was like, hang on, why are we talking about a dermatologist?
I'm sorry. Okay, I don't know where.
I think there was a miscommunication
Okay,
there.
yeah, I heard dermatology. Never mind.
I did have very hugely bad zits though, and so I had to go see a dermatologist.
You've had a journey with a dermatologist as well. Yeah, I have too.
You know, this picture of loveliness does not emerge just automatically, you know.
Baby's
baby's butt. Yeah, baby, not like this.
No, me neither.
I've never seen a dermatologist in my life.
Okay, so now that we've all full disclosure on our dermatological issues,
We'll move on.
shall we move on?
Yes.
Yes.
We're not far into my scientific career yet. I just want to
Our
point out.
first aside was
Sorry, maybe just
Went
the
well.
Korean in me. Just I can't get skincare out of my
Yeah,
mind.
you just love skin.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right. Okay. Sorry. Let's move on. So, your dad was a medic,
Yeah.
and that's what triggered your love for
Yeah.
science, and you were
Yeah.
pretty good at it.
Yep.
And then.
So that helped. So I ended up. Then I did my undergraduate at UC Berkeley, and it was in molecular genetics in effect. And so once again, because you do what you do, and so okay, I'm all right at it, right? Mm-hmm. And then I ended up so I was in California. I'm from San Francisco, and I ended up going to Cambridge to do my PhD, which was also in molecular genetics, but on the Japanese pufferfish fugu rupipes. Yeah, I know exactly.
Are they the really poisonous ones?
They're the really poisonous ones. They're the ones like in the sashimi.
Yeah.
Now look, I eat anything. I'm Chinese, so I eat anything
Everything.
without going to a stereotype too much, but except for food which could kill you if the chef is a bit shit.
Yeah.
No, I just think
logical.
that's just like a risk a bit too far.
Yeah, that you're not willing to take.
I don't think
at
so
dinner
because
time.
then what school did you go to? You know, then you're gonna ask him, or her for that matter. Anyway, so that's so I did it in that. But I realized when I finished my actually no, I realized pretty soon when I was in my PhD. It's fine. I was well trained. I trained with a chap named Sidney Brenner, who he won a Nobel Prize in 2002.
Oh,
so
wow.
I was well trained. But I realized that studying the genetics of
Fish.
Japanese pufferfish was not going to pay my mortgage or feed any future children any protein. So, but there are a couple. My ethos was there were a couple of things I could do with my career for my PhD. I could either stay within the same field of what I was in, okay, Japanese pufferfish, and do something different with it. I felt it was kind of niche, or. That's a kind of niche. Very niche. Oh my god! I mean, there were some journals. The Journal of Fish Immunology. There's a whole journal.
Stop.
What's the impact factor of the journal?
I don't want to get sued. I don't know. Okay, so I don't know about that. Anyway, or you take the technique or techniques you learned.
Yeah.
And move fields.
Yeah.
And so I figured that DNA is DNA. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what creature it came from, and so then I moved, and I ended up just by luck actually. It was the lab a couple of doors down. I went knocking on it. There was no advert. I went knocking on the door, and they just happened to discover one of the first obesity genes at the time. Wow. And I said, "Hello, I'm here. Do you fancy a geneticist?" It helped that obviously who I trained with, and I was the right guy, right place, right time, and suddenly I was into obesity, and that's how I stayed. So it was entirely by luck.
Yeah.
Entirely by luck.
Yeah, because your own research is generally about what makes us fat, right? The genes that make us fat.
So okay, it started off. So when I first started, and this would be now, this would happen 1998, so many years ago. It was on actually what we call just severe obesity, like seriously obese kids, 3 years old, 45 kilos. Okay,
wow.
so really, really obese kids. And then working Mendelian disorders, so single gene defects causing them. So these are about that. But what happened pretty rapidly was that we began to realize that most of them, in fact, the vast majority of the mutations we were discovering were in genes that were enriched or function entirely within the brain. So it became, and were influencing food intake. So very soon, the genetics of obesity became the genetics of how your brain controls food intake. And so by which time I accidentally became a neuroscientist. So I've never trained in, you did neuroscience in school in the way you would have done neuroscience, but I'm a trained geneticist, not a neuroscientist. But then because we were following the pathway and I ended up, oh my God, something in my brain. And then I looked down, and so then
You're like, I was down there.
I was down here.
Now I'm up here.
Now I'm up here. And that's it. So I've spent the rest of my time studying how the brain controls food intake. So really it's the genetics of why we get fat. The more accurate thing is the genetics of why people behave differently around food. I think is probably what I study.
So why some people like can't stop, or why some people make different choices.
I think there is
everything.
So an example I always like to give is the boardroom scenario. Okay, so the lab meeting scenario for now. Let's go lab meeting. We're scientists here. So the lab meeting scenario, we all sit down, okay, or whatever is going to be talking about, and someone slides in front of me, okay. 5 white frosted cupcakes. Okay,
this is completely
the
hypothetical.
gin and tonic cupcakes.
Yeah. With you.
Hypothetically.
For the road.
So someone slides it on. Okay, now I would argue, maybe you're the expert here, Curie. Maybe you'll argue that there's more. I would argue there are 4 behaviors. Okay, the first behavior is there are people who will dive immediately in for the cupcake or cookie.
That's usually, I think I'm that one.
Now, there are people who wish to do that, but don't, hold themselves back, but then spend the entire meeting focused on the cupcake or cookie and not listen to the meeting at all. Okay, they're the people, the most annoying of all, okay, who just ignore the cupcakes. Like
Ignore them.
Like ignore them. Like they don't even like don't even think they're there.
Okay.
Like very annoying people.
These are the people that are like, I eat to live. Those people.
I think so. Food is fuel.
Yeah.
Food is fuel.
Those annoying people.
They are, I agree.
And then there are the people who eat without even knowing that they're eating. Okay, so in other words, it just is there, so they eat. There's no particular drive to it. And I always bring this up because those are 4 behaviors, but they're likely to have biological insight into so for example, the people who love to eat food are probably genetically slightly more driven. Are they hungrier? Do they feel more of a reward when they eat the food? Do they tickle parts of their brain? The people who do it without thinking about eating habitually? Is this a scenario where suddenly they've been conditioned that because I'm sat at a table at a meeting, I have a cookie, right? Because that's what's available. And the people who ignore it are probably food as fuel, are probably people who I would say don't love food. I talked at the beginning about loving food.
Yeah.
They probably don't love food. And I know people like that. They're the people who eat the same cheese sandwich every day for lunch. Every day. I'm going,
true.
Dude, what, like... Not that I'm talking about anyone sitting next to me in the office next door or anything like that, but yeah. So and I do think all those behaviors. Another example is, why do some people respond to stress? Not tiger stress. Tiger stress is a very universal response, run like hell, because those people that didn't are now dead. So those genes are not passed on. But I'm talking about work stress, thesis stress, paper stress, whatever stress.
Yeah.
Why do some people respond by eating, and some people respond by not eating? Diametric opposites. Exactly the same hormone, cortisol. Okay, why do we respond completely opposites? The truth, we probably don't know. I think we probably have some ideas. It's about tickling. Being stressful is bad, is unpleasant, and so you want to make it feel better. For some people, you go bungee jumping. For other people, it's a gin and tonic. For some people, it's a cupcake. Okay, and that probably is it. But in truth, we don't know. And I think that is what I'm interested in. So all of those are going to be driven in large part by the brain. Okay, either by the hypothalamic parts or the fuel sensor bit, or higher areas of the brain, the bits of the brain that mediate the hedonic functions, mediate reward and what have you.
So like pleasure.
And I think all of these are going to have interesting biological insights. That's what I'm interested in.
Fascinating.
That is fascinating. I'm just thinking about like what behavior I am. I'm the person that dives in.
I'm the person that doesn't dive in but wishes they dived in. The minute you said that, I was like, and then I'll think, I won't focus on the whole entire meeting. I'll just sit there thinking about the cupcake.
So I think I'm like you. So where the cupcake. So for example, when I said that, no, thank you, you offered me the cupcake, the gin and tonic cup. Now I know it's gin and tonic though. This is terrible.
Game changer.
I thought it was some frosted something or other, and what have you. But I'm probably the same actually.
Yeah, definitely.
But anyway, so that's what I'm interested in.
So then, well, okay, my question is there like, so if we have these innate genetics within us that lead us to have these different behaviours, but then how much of that is derived off societal and cultural upbringing and how the influence that has on you in general? For example, if we look at, say, Asian cultures, for example, there's a really big emphasis on how important food is, and it's like a very big social, like, I think there's just a very big love, not just in Asians, but as in there's a really big focus within the culture, maybe less so in other cultures, for example.
Okay, I mean that's a very interesting question. So I think there is actually a number that's out there, heritability. So what percentage is, and it has been derived using twin studies. So just briefly about twin studies, the reason why you use twins is because you have identical twins, 100% of DNA material. Fraternal twins, like you and your brother or sister, 50%. So you can take any given trait, hair color, and ask the question, well, how much is down to your genes? How much is down to the environment? An example would be freckles. Freckles are clearly have a genetic influence, but if they appear, depends whether or not you like to stand in the sun, do you like to wear a t-shirt, even amongst identical twins, okay? When you do that, then the actual heritability of body weight, body mass, is about 50 to 70%, okay? So two questions. Why is there a range? No, in fact, one question. Why is there a range? And why is the range so big? Those are two questions, okay? Why is the range so big? And that's because of the big role that the environment does play. So imagine if you go to the max at 70%, then 30% would be the role of socioeconomic class. It would have a role to play with culture. It would have all of the other things which actually come on board then play. But what is really interesting is this uncomfortable relationship between socioeconomic class and body weight. So I got a colleague of mine, Claire Llewellyn, who runs the Gemini study here at UCL somewhere. Okay, I don't know where that is.
Not sure which direction.
Not sure which direction,
Somewhere
but around. Well, what's interesting is she studies twins. She's shown that the 50 to 70%, she studies food security. So in other words, we have no problem with food security. We know where our next meal is going to come from. Okay, but a lot of people don't. Okay, and if you go to a house with poor food security, right, you max out your genetic risk up to 70%. Whereas if you, like us probably, okay, here, privileged, doing PhDs, and what have you, you actually drive that genetic risk down to 50%. So I think that range comes from the influence of your socioeconomic class, okay, and that could be for any number of different reasons. But 50 to 70% is the answer to what role the environment, culture, everything else plays, and what role biology plays. I mean, because the other interesting thing about Asian cultures, which I find, is that we don't. Well, okay, I can speak for Chinese people.
Okay.
So just so that I don't beep it, and even then it's a pretty big brushstroke. That we don't do a lot of pudding. We don't do desserts a lot. It's not that we don't, but it's just not a big, gigantic culture of that. And so that may, actually observe, it may actually emerge when you actually look at it. Oh, we don't eat stuff that's actually as sweet or maybe slightly different. But we do like pork belly. Exactly. And so I think we get our sins from elsewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I think Koreans are very similar. We don't have a big dessert scene, but we do love
pork belly. Just saying. Okay, that's right.
It's the best meat.
It is. It is, yeah.
So there's two people in this room that disagree.
I quite like pork belly.
Really?
Yeah, but I've had bad pork belly.
Damaza can't stand it.
I've had really bad. I don't think it was cooked enough, in my opinion.
You can't cook pork belly like a steak. All right? Steak has to be cooked, for a few minutes. Pork belly needs to be cooked for about a century.
Yeah.
Now,
This is
slowly.
what I think.
Slowly.
Yeah.
At 1 degree above room temperature for that, and that's the best pork belly.
I mean,
There you go.
no.
What's up? Tell me. Talk to me. Talk to me.
Best pork belly is Korean barbecue style when it's sliced about half a centimeter thick, and you fry it so that it's slightly crispy on each side.
Okay, so you do that by therefore making it very small. Okay, so
You don't have like a pork belly.
Yeah. Okay, Okay, fine. There's a lot of prep that
So
goes
we can agree to disagree.
Okay, fine.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, to swing it back to your journey.
Yo, sorry. We
No,
haven't
no,
left
no.
the journey yet. This
No,
is
no,
terrible.
We're still on the journey,
The
but we
journey
like.
is the whole thing.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
and we also love here at Laid Out. We do like the asides, like the little when we get on tangents. We're a very big fan of tangents.
I love tangents, yes.
Yeah. So I guess you talked a lot about your research and that important core of everything.
Yeah.
But to go into kind of the, I guess, celebrity side of things, or
you
Bitch,
hate-
can you stop for a second?
the being on TV.
I'm probably about a Z celebrity.
I don't know.
You're our most famous guest.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I'll go with Z celebrity. It's fine. Anyway.
Until now, our general caliber of guests have been fellow PhD students. So for Lay It Out, you are a celebrity right now.
You are.
I'll take that.
Bask in it.
How did I get into there?
Yeah, like where did that come in? How did that start?
You know, that's entirely by chance. That was, once again, was entirely by chance. Okay, 100% by chance. So what you did, Curie, sorry, well, I was pointing up, but you did. Like there's a camera. Who? You're Curie. They needed, originally, so once again, they needed an expert on the genetics of obesity about something or other, okay? And so I appeared for a Channel 4 thing for literally, I was on TV. I mean, they filmed for the whole freaking day, as you know, okay? And I appeared for 10 seconds, okay? And I went blah, blah, blah. Then what happened was I got a call from the BBC who said they could do it better, and so we did. Once again, it wasn't a presentatory thing. It was once again just an expert thing, okay, but longer. And this time was over 3 programs, and I appeared probably in total 10 minutes. But it was like weeks and weeks of just in and out with a number of different people. But once again, then the BBC always have a tent at the. So once again, this was still just expert stuff, and then they have a tent at the Cheltenham Science Festival, okay, and so the producer called me and said, would I come and do a Q&A? They'll pay me to go. I said, oh, that's kind of cool, why not, so I went. Genetic of Obesity with the presenter, who was Chris Van Tulleken. He's one of the Van Tulleken twins, and then and the producer, and we were sitting there. But the people wanted to know about obesity and genetics of obesity, so I ended up doing most of the yakking. Unbeknownst to me, sat in the front row was the editor of Horizon, the documentary series of Horizon. So it ended up being an audition without me knowing it was an audition. And then he came up to speak to me after. We need to work together. And I thought it was blah blah media stuff. No, 2 weeks later, he sent up a couple of producers. I got my first Horizon, then I got my second Horizon, which I did on the Fad Nights, and then I got the Trust Me gig, and then I was in. That's how. Entirely by luck.
And also the thing you said about doing an audition without knowing you were doing an audition.
That's the best kind of audition.
The best kind of audition. Because you didn't have any of the pre-audition nerves.
I didn't prep nothing.
No,
I just showed up.
I wish that was how all auditions went.
Blah, blah, blah.
And interviews. Everything.
Yeah.
Why can't life just be like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Really
And then so no, entirely by luck. And I felt that because it fell in my lap, I looked. Okay. Let me give you the real honest answer. Why did they pick me up? Okay, fine. I'm not a shy person. That's fine. I also probably tick the. I also from University of Cambridge, which adds some gravitas, which is fine. Okay, I understand gravitas. Okay,
Yes, yeah.
And I probably tick the big bald Chinese guy boxes. But that's fine. I think one has to leverage the advantages that one
Absolutely,
gets.
yeah.
So anyway, there we go.
I mean, it's not all luck though, is it? Like,
No, I don't think
No, I think it was luck to be. I have no problems. I have no problems at all in saying my first big hit as a scientist. Like literally, but just from a journal perspective, was entirely by luck. Where my supervisor said, "Do this." I mean, literally, I joined. Second day, he says, "Do this," and I did this, and I got that. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And this was the example as well. I just happened to be there. That being said, and I agree with that, it was. But I hopefully I ran with it.
Yeah.
So the ball dropped. Oh God, I'm holding a ball now. And so yes, I did.
Yeah.
I did run with it, and I think
Yeah.
I've made good use of it.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have happened without the luck.
Yeah. And that's, I think, where, like, because you can have luck, but then it's what you do with that, like you're saying.
Yeah.
You
I don't want to sound like
made it what it
a
is.
fortune cookie, but it's but it's I'm sorry, lots of stereotypical
we
do we like stereotype? I love
We
stereotype.
love all sorts
Oh,
of
that's
casual racism.
Kind of references.
We love it.
But I think it is true. Without sounding like a fortune cookie, it is true. Where it is luck. One I don't like, I have to say, are people who deny the luck. and pretend that it is their genius.
Yeah.
Why did you? How did you end up? Because I am just a genius, and I came up with the idea, and that's it.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Scum, you're never gonna. But I have no problem. I think luck, and then running with the luck.
Yeah. To be fair, actually, whenever people ask me like how I got a PhD and stuff, I always say like a lot of mine was luck. I luckily got this project. I luckily found a significant result. My supervisor luckily had a job opening at that time that my master's was finishing, and then now here we are.
The stars aligned.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because if you went to try and look for it, sometimes it's impossible.
Yeah.
It's not impossible, but it's just more. Sometimes it's more difficult. I think luck has a big thing.
Yeah.
My mum went to see a fortune teller because she does that quite a lot in Korea, and they said that I was born with luck.
Oh no way.
Yeah.
You probably say that to every single Korean mother. Why are they gonna say she was born with bad luck?
Yeah.
You're not gonna get paid.
They didn't have to say it.
No, but hang on. Here's a good question. Did they say that specifically about you? What about your brother and sister?
Specifically about me.
Oh.
Yeah. They said my sister was born unlucky, so they did say it.
Oh.
Yeah.
And your mother paid?
Yeah.
Well, you just told me one of my children's going to be unlucky, so I'm not paying you now.
Yeah. So she said I was born with luck, but then it kind of backfires because now whenever something good happens or I achieve something, my mom's always like, she said you were born lucky. I'm like, for fuck's sake, I worked for this.
You've no hope of any merit whatsoever. No, it's just your general cloud of luck.
My lucky,
the atmosphere around you. Yeah.
Anyway,
well, it was interesting what you said about your first big, or I don't know how, I can't remember how you phrased it, but your supervisor telling you what to do, you did it, and then you found it. I feel like that's what happens in science all the time. Like, I don't know, but I feel like people are like, oh, maybe or you hear all the big stories.
You go hear the big stories. Listen, it's a load of BS. I mean, if you go and listen, now that you've been in it now that I've been in it, when they go and they stand up and then they say there's some keynote and then they go and give the story and everything looks so beautiful and everything.
You knew exactly what to do.
The bodies of postdocs and PhD students. Literally littered. How many proteins or genes or molecules or whatever it is you've been doing didn't work or didn't find anything but still formed a PhD, but then someone was so dejected that they finally leave because nothing ever works. And then you get the lucky people. And I do think that is how it works. I cannot imagine, and given that now I've been in it for like 25 years, I cannot imagine that anyone, unless by luck, and then you have a little bit of luck here and there, you have a whole bunch of failures, but no one wants to hear about the failures, so no one ever actually tells you that in your keynote lecture.
Failures aren't sexy.
No.
They're not sexy.
No. I think there is actually a exhibition that's going to be going on at King soon, where they've asked the academics to submit their failures.
Like what? Like grant applications? Or like failed papers or things?
Yeah.
See, that's be great.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought that was really great.
Because then people will look, particularly people who haven't written the grants or what have you yet, will go look and look at it. And people try and learn lessons from it.
Yeah.
And maybe sometimes there are lessons to be learned. Oh, this is a bit structured, a bit shit, or you didn't form your question properly. Do you know what? A large chunk of the time, you end up... So what happens is you have grants, for example, or paper, who are, so geniusy. Okay, not by me, never by me, where it always flies through, okay? Then there's not enough money. There's never enough money. Then there's the bunch of people who sit here at the 2-1 level, okay? Right there. In whom just entirely by chance, whatever the whim, whatever the way the smell was flowing that day, you either get picked or not. And so you might try and make some decision about how you might write your grant based on something which really didn't have anything to do with that, but how did one of the reviewers have a bad shrimp the night before? I mean, like seriously, and so I think that is be useful to actually see, well, how come that one got funded and how come that one didn't get funded? Yeah. And a lot of it is going to be down to something else other than the actual structural level. But some of them are going to be obviously structured crap.
But it's true though, right? Like the person reviewing it, if they've had a crappy day,
like seriously, I mean, if you got suddenly the new mom, new dad, you didn't sleep the night before, food poisoning the night before, whatever, okay, hungover, right?
That's probably most
I'd say that's quite a regular one.
And then you suddenly have to stand up and defend, your stack of grants, and then you have a bad off day, and there's I'm not convinced. Okay, well we'll push them down the pile for next time. And here's the tragedy of the whole science thing. So I just recently was lucky enough to get a couple of grants. And let me tell you, it's not for my own salary. Okay, clearly it pays for some of the science. But someone else can pay a mortgage. My postdoc can now pay a mortgage for the next 3 years. It is,
life-changing.
It is life-changing.
Yeah.
It is life-changing. Because if suddenly you don't get the money, he's got to, or he or she now has to go, people got to eat protein-ish. They're now and then it costs money. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, we've had a few cases in both the neuroscience side and your side where people have just lost their jobs recently.
Based on grants and things. Yeah.
And it's like they're devastated.
It's awful.
Yeah. Should we bring the tone up a bit?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
It swings that way sometimes, and we just have to remind
You
ourselves.
are talking about science.
Yeah. Sometimes we get into deep depressions on this show. It's okay. If we could swing back to you being on TV and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
That might get a bit, hopefully not too
Controversial.
Oh.
How have the reactions been from other scientists around you to you becoming now a TV, inverted quotes, scientist? Like, do you find that people, sort of the more snooty professors and stuff, maybe, do they look down on it, or has the reaction been very positive?
It as you might imagine, there's a spectrum of responses.
Yeah.
I think there's been a lot of positivity where where it's been seen that I have raised the profile of a number of things of the department or the institute or the subject that I work on. Okay, and all of the above is true. But I get a significant. Is it equal? I don't know if it's equal. I don't want to say equal, but a significant snootiness about that, undoubtedly, where people, like I said, they think it's a waste of time. I don't think it's a waste of time, and I don't think it's a waste of time not because I do enjoy I'm not a shy person, as I said, but I don't think it's a waste of time because, particularly in this post-truth world that we're actually living in, where people are putting down experts and not listening to scientists and stuff. I think we do have to share responsibility as scientists and academics of telling non-experts, because you can talk within your bubble, you can go to Eurogenesis and do it, and that's fine, because that will get you your PhD and that will pay me my job, pay me my mortgage, and etc. But at the end of the day, okay, if we don't talk to the non-experts, the not 99.99999% of the people in the world are never ever going to read your paper. That's the first thing, okay? But yet, they pay your salary, or will eventually pay your salary through taxes. And so that's the first thing. I think we have a duty to tell them. And secondly, if we don't tell non-experts, as an expert in whatever it is we're doing, what we're doing, then someone else who's less of an expert is going to come along and do a worse job than you. And I think not everyone has to do the same thing as me, like appear on TV, but everyone can write for the local rag, appear at a science festival, speak at a thing, do a podcast. Exactly what I'm saying. So yes, it is definitely severe levels of snootiness that I have faced.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's the whole reason why we started this podcast in the first place, and why we decided to make it so unfiltered and casual, because we wanted it to
be more accessible. I guess.
Yeah, because like we were saying, the way it started was I was trying to find a science podcast that was fun to listen to, and they were all really, really boring, and I was like, if I find these boring, how the fuck is like average Joe?
Average Joe is not going to
listen to this. Exactly. He's going to find it boring. So then we started this.
Exactly. No, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
And it's fun. I'm having a good time.
And over the years...
How long have you guys been doing this?
Oh, not long. This is our second season.
You said over the years.
Oh no, I was looking back. You didn't let me finish.
Oh, sorry. I'll shut up now.
I was gonna say.
Yes,
over
ma'am.
the years, have you noticed that snootiness?
You're talking to me.
Back to you.
Yes.
But okay.
But in answer to your question, it's been about a year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, roughly a year. So over not our years, over your years. Have you noticed that snootiness that you're saying you're getting, has that increased or decreased, or has it just kind of stayed the same? Like, do you think people are? Because I think there is a bit more of a. Well, I like to think that there's more of an outreach effort from science.
It does seem like there's a big
small, but slowly but surely.
I do think it's got better. That's true. So I think the progression is definitely better, slightly less snooty from the people who are snooty. I've always had positive responses. I have to say. I just want to point out from many people, and you got to speak within my university scenario. Very, very positive, things as well. And people who have been snooty, not from my university or from a university, but it is getting better. Yes, from a positive perspective.
Do the snooty ones tend to be aged 60 plus years old?
Well, they do, but they do. I think some of the younger, actually, yes, they do. Yes. Yeah. I was going to think of an example. Otherwise, they do.
Yeah. I had a question. This super random question, actually. So I know you tweet a lot about like fad diets and the bullshit that's out in social media about dieting and blah blah blah. What do you think? So I started following a whole bunch of Instagrams, and then I got really sick of it really quickly. Where they all talk about calories are just calories. Food is like, if you're trying to lose weight or weight loss, fat loss, it's just all calories. It doesn't matter what you're eating as long as you stick to your calories. And I started to find this really frustrating. And at first I was like, oh, this is quite a positive thing. Like, getting people to just think about their food in terms of this is this many calories and just be more aware of what they're eating.
Energy balance.
Yeah. But then after all, I was like, no, actually, this is really fucking annoying because you're sitting there being like, oh, it doesn't matter if you eat this Snickers bar versus this smoothie because it's the same calories. It's like, it's so annoying. But then, I don't know if it is doing a good thing in terms of helping people lose weight and be healthier.
I mean, I think there is very much a simplification of messages that are out there, and that's good and that's bad. And I do think, because clearly, if you go to highfalutin and speaking in Latin, then no one's going to listen to you. Okay, so that's a bad thing. But I do think we need to get the messaging accurate. And calories is an interesting thing. And we just have to. Is a calorie a calorie? Well, it is if you absorb it and break it apart because it's a unit of energy, right? But where they come from does make a difference. If you eat 100 calories of sugar, you're going to get 100 calories of sugar, pretty close. If you eat 100 calories of sweet corn, look in the loo the next day, then you clearly have absorbed nowhere close to 100 calories of sweet corn.
Yeah.
But yet you can make the sweet corn turn into a corn meal and turn it into a corn tortilla, and suddenly you've changed the caloric availability, the amount of calories you can extract out of a food versus the amount of calories stuck in a food. So yes, if you're doing let's go back to the 5-2, okay, and you have to have 600 calories a day, okay, and you're thinking, well, what are you going to eat? 600 calories of sugar? Or are you going to eat 600 calories of sweet corn? Well, both are stupid, right? Because the first one, why would you do that? And sweet corn, then you're not going to get 600 calories. So then you're going to have to find something in between and how it works and what you're going to do for you. So it is about calories that you absorb. But when you look at the back of the pack of anything, that calorie amount is what is extracted from a bomb calorimeter.
Yeah.
Like, it's been toasted within an inch of its life, which is not what we do. We're not bomb calorimeters. We absorb and we digest food. And so now, I agree with you. We need to be better with our messaging about calories. It is energy balance if you can absorb it.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, because I remember one of the only times I've ever sent a random DM to an Instagram person I don't know was when this guy posted about, he attacked intermittent fasting, and he basically
it's like he insulted your baby, your firstborn child.
He insulted my work, but basically he was saying, no, intermittent fasting is stupid, a calorie is a calorie, it doesn't matter when you eat it, sort of thing. And I was like, well, actually, I don't think we should ignore the fact that there's lots of health benefits of intermittent fasting, and blah, blah, blah. But he never replied. But maybe it's just a personal thing.
Oh, and actually, okay, this is another slight tangent, but looping back. The point of your trial.
It's a looping back tangent.
It is a looping back, yeah. So we haven't done any of those yet, so I thought I'd bring one in.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just was wondering, when you were doing Curious Trial, how did you feel in terms of her outcomes? So did you feel smarter?
Did I feel smarter?
Yeah.
I felt hungry. And I think I felt hungry. I don't know if I felt smarter. I certainly wasn't concentrating as much because I crashed my bike. So for me, but once again, I don't think I was doing it in the way that it was necessarily designed to be done. I think I because I got myself so hungry because I was cycling and stuff like that, I probably overindulged on the other days, even though I tried not to. So I don't know if I'm the right person to ask if I became smarter.
That's good. I like your honesty.
Yeah. Also, when you watch the show, you'll see that, I think our kind of take-home message was, it depends on the person.
It does, and that does come across.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't. So that does come across.
So we are approaching our time.
Yeah.
So I was thinking we could do some like more quick fire kind of things with a few of our remaining questions that we wanted to.
Okay. In my head, when you said quick fire, I was thinking like Diet Coke or Coke Zero.
Diet Coke.
Oh really? Coke Zero is better.
No, I like the taste of aspartame.
Do you have more, or do you want to go back on to the real question?
Favorite holiday you've ever taken?
Favorite holiday I've ever taken?
Oh yeah.
Oh my lord. There's this weird cycling holiday, and my wife's gonna kill me because it was without her. Where I ended up doing, it was a cycling holiday. It was a boring cycling holiday with a mate, and we went and we cycled in the Alps and we did this ride. It was murder in terms of the ride, but that was probably my favorite holiday.
Lovely.
Which Alps?
So we did. So French Alps. French Alps.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to our real questions.
Let's go to an actual question.
Yeah.
I think we should intersperse more of your ones, so keep thinking about them because I'm enjoying those.
This one?
Yeah, do you want to go?
Any Twitter wars you've ever been in?
Yes.
With who? Anyone famous?
Oh. No. So Twitter wars. I haven't been in a Twitter war in the sense where okay, let me just this is not a quick answer. This is the problem.
That's okay.
When I finished my Horizon clean eating program, the people who attacked me the most, they hated me with the plant-based diet community. Okay, so the militant vegans, at least they won't eat you, but nonetheless, the militant militant vegans who saw it as an attack on veganism, which it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was to show that there is a safe dose of meat. We're just eating too much of it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that was the thing. But then they came after me. They came after me big time, and this was the first time I've actually got trolled in a major way. They dragged out my. They went after me for 2 months after solid. My phone would not stop flickering, and then on Twitter they dragged my CV out from somewhere. Like literally posted it and compared it to the guy I was questioning, this chap named Colin Campbell and doing the thing. And I ended up just not engaging. And then that I was a drug company shill.
Of course.
I'm working in
everybody is,
Of course they are.
Yeah,
I work for. I'm saying you can look who I work for: University of Cambridge and the MRC. I'm sorry, whatever. But so that wasn't a Twitter war per se, but that was probably the worst. The worst of it all. It was very unpleasant, deeply unpleasant.
Yeah.
To say. But I'm now used to just
Brushing it off.
yeah, brushing it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, brushing off all the haters.
As Miss Swift says, shake it off.
The wise words.
I'm sorry, I'm
wise
quoting
words
Taylor
of
Swift.
T.
Yeah,
Swift.
carry on. Yeah.
Okay, very final question because
Yes,
we
ma'am.
are running out of time.
Is it our very final question?
Yeah, we
Really?
are running out of time.
Oh yeah, we are. Okay.
What's your advice for PhD students we may or may not be asking for ourselves?
Yeah.
Please
Do you have any advice?
Yeah.
Any at all that you could
I do.
pull out of your head?
I do actually. If you don't, and we can close on that. I think a couple of things. Assuming that you don't get lucky enough to get some magical thing that actually happens. How do you stay in science if you choose to stay in science? I think two things. Don't piss people off unnecessarily. and if you are more of a pain in the ass to replace than to keep, when push comes to shove, someone will keep you hired. Which has been how I've survived. I don't try to piss people off, and I'm more of a pain in the ass to replace than to keep.
Interesting.
That's my advice.
So is that kind of a roundabout way of saying that you work really hard?
No. Well, I do, but I do work hard, but I don't necessarily think. I think find something you're good at.
Yeah, and be really good.
Be
at it.
really good at it within, and for me, it just happens to be the genomics element to it, right? God, if we fire him, if he lets go, we got to find someone else, and it's easier just to keep him, her.
But what if we don't know what we're good at yet?
Oh no, I'm not saying now yet, right? Because I didn't find out what I was good at.
Yeah.
Probably so this thing was because you'd probably be fine for if you elect to stay in science, you'll probably be fine for a first or second postdoc if you choose to actually do it. What happens after? This is the problem, right? If you're not the magical Premier League of fellows. Now, not to say that you guys won't, but the problem is by its definition, most of us, including me, won't. Mm-hmm. And so if that's the situation and but you still want to stay in science, how do you then do it? Mm-hmm. That is what I mean.
What you do.
Yeah. I'm not speaking about myself. I'm not casting aspersions on my the hosts speaking or silent.
And actually, I think
Shout out to Malza.
Yeah. I think don't piss people off is a great nugget of wisdom for everyone.
I mean, sometimes you have to.
life.
Sometimes you have to.
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes you got to. But most of the times you don't.
Yeah.
And I think that's the point. Sometimes you do have to. So don't do it unnecessarily.
Or just piss people off in a way that they don't realise they're pissed off until it's too late.
Okay.
That was very mafioso.
Carrie really likes pissing people off. She quite enjoys it.
Sometimes.
Now and again. Okay, well, I think that's probably all we have time for.
Yeah, this has been great.
It's been really, really great.
This
Thank
has
you.
been, honestly, the fastest recording we've ever done.
It's really flown by. We've
Yeah.
had so much fun.
Thank you for very
Yeah.
much.
I hope you have too.
Yeah.
I have enjoyed it.
Good.
And so, did we say thank you? Did I say thank you already?
Yeah,
I'm
we
going to
said
say
thank
thank
you.
you again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And,
We do. Yeah. Thank you for coming. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope that this wasn't just another generic thing that you like the same interview questions that you always get.
No, not at all.
Good.
A lot of fun.
Glad.
Good.
Cool.
All right. Okay. So, do you have anything you want to plug? You have a new book out.
Gene eating. Bye. The Science of Obesity, the Truth About Diet. Available at all good bookstores. Good stores. Yeah.
And you're active on Twitter. Your handle.
At Giles Yeo.
Great. And you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram on @layoutpodcast. You can email us on @layoutpodcast@gmail.com. Patch Plants, we are still waiting for you to sponsor us, please.
Kevin has a new leaf.
Woo!
Woo-woo.
It's her plant.
It's my plan.
All right, bye!
Bye-bye.
Thank you.